What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, continuing my deep dive into Tom Waits' studio catalog. Today, official studio album number 10, Frank's Wild Years. I'm going to review it, I'm going to rank it, I'm going to talk about it, I'm not going to play music from it, and yeah, that's it. This came out in 1987, and a couple years earlier, with his release of his eighth official studio album, Swordfish Trombone, Waits sort of entered the second phase of his career. The first phase of his career, which was from his opening closing time through Heart Attack and Vine, I think Waits probably, if that was the extent of his career, was probably no more than maybe a sentence or two in the history of rock. A couple absolutely fantastic albums in that era, no doubt. But I think one of the things that maybe his biggest impact was the Eagles covered one of his songs, Bruce Springsteen covered one of his songs. He was definitely known among other singer-songwriters. He had some recognition, he had some popularity. There was this attraction to this sort of weird, mutated blues jazz filled with these sort of drunken LA street characters, and his gruff performance style, his undeniable charisma that is documented on Nighthawks at the Diner. And But I don't know if the impact that he had overall was something that would have been more than just a sentence or two. As someone who wrote a couple songs that much bigger acts were sort of like attracted to. But come Swordfish Trombones, why it is early and I'm missing all these names up. I think he completely changed that. He put out an album that sort of was a new subgenre of rock. Like there were all these elements that were easily recognizable. There's a bluesy element, there's a jazzy element, there's this awesome percussion vibe, there's this vibe, what I call junkyard jazz or junkyard blues, where it really sounds like he just walked into a junkyard, picked up anything he could make percussive noises with, found an old string instrument that they could squeeze out like notes on, and just made this amazing music. And so with Swordfish Trombones and Rain Dogs, he put out two just undeniably great albums, and you had to reckon with them. He needed more than just a sentence or two. He became maybe a full paragraph. Frank's Wild Years completes the trilogy that is this phase of his career. The music is very much in line with the music of Swordfish Trombones, with the music of Rain Dogs. You have that awesome Mark Ribot, I think is his name, R-I-B-O-T. His awesome guitar, just very stark and sparse and driving and angular, but gives Tom Waits a very definitive sound. You have that junkyard percussion, you have that woozy horns, you have that gruff vocals. Frank's Wild Years very much feels like those two, but each of them really has an overall different feel. And I'm going to argue that the overall feel on Frank's Wild Years is not as successful as on the first two. One, it's music written for a play, and there are a number of songs, or maybe it's just the sequencing of the songs, where you feel that instead of Tom singing about people he had witnessed who he's turned into characters, he's literally a character in a play. The songs are about characters in a play. There seems to be something a little more to, soundtracky. It doesn't sound soundtracky, but the way we jump around from different like weird twisted subgenre to weird twisted subgenre to this, and there's a whole bunch of Vegas stuff in here that just flat out doesn't work, or two Vegas tracks that just flat out doesn't work. I just don't think the overall effect of this album is quite as impactful as Swordfish Trombones and Rain Dogs. Still a good album. It's still Tom Waits doing things that nobody else is doing. It still sounds very much like, what kind of music is this? But it definitely doesn't quite have maybe the personal impact that those first two have, and just doesn't have that kind of overall gut punch. There are some amazing songs on here. Absolutely ridiculous amazing songs. That is not to be denied. A couple songs that Tom Waits wrote them in the 80s sound like they could have been lost folk classics from like the 20s or 30s that Lomax discovered and Tom's covering. Like, that's how powerful his songwriting still is. But I don't think this one delivers quite the same punch as the previous two. Swordfish Trombones is very much an artist who went through a phase of his career, started to experiment towards the end of that, and you hear bits of on Heart Attack and Vine, his last one of his first era. You hear elements that are going to be much more dominating the sound in Swordfish Trombones. So he delivers Swordfish Trombones. It's a statement. It's clearing the path for anything. Rain Dogs is pretty much him feeling like he was validated by sort of the critical success of Swordfish Trombones. So he delivers more of the same, but intensely better and richer and maybe more personal. And just, there's something about Rain Dogs that's just perfect. Swordfish Trombones is kind of perfect too. But then this one feels like, can we deliver this to a different audience in a different way? Let's package it in a play, or we're inspired to create a play. And so it's just channeled in a different way. And so it's using a lot of the same elements, but at the same time, there's something different about it. Still a fantastic album. Opens up with Hang On St. Christopher, which is one of the best tracks on here. It's really, he does a really good job of dropping these songs to open albums that feel like they're like parades, or they feel like they're presentations of like, hey, follow me. I'm taking you someplace weird, someplace you've never been. Let's go. And Hang On St. Christopher has this percussive, bouncing, moving forward groove, very much like a horn-led swag parade. There's confidence in this song. About Frank. So Frank himself on Swordfish Trombones burns down his house. He's going to miss his dog, unfortunately. I don't think he saved his dog, or maybe his wife took the dog before he burnt down the house and fled. And now he's fleeing. He's hitting the roads. He's definitely very much driving on California, Nevada. He's just kind of traveling. He's St. Christopher is the patron saint of travelers or motorists. So hang on, St. Christopher. I'm hitting the road. We're going wild. I am living life now, leaving my suburban Southern California life behind, and we are off. And the narrator, Frank, is going to need St. Christopher if he's going to survive. Awesome opening song. Straight to the Top is next, the rumba version. Later on, there is a Vegas version in which Tom Waits plays Frank Sinatra. Vegas version, I don't think quite works. It's fun, but it kind of undercuts the entire album, I would argue, and makes it feel like a play. It's like, oh, why are we in Vegas all of a sudden? It's too extreme of a narrative detour musically to work, but Straight to the Top works. Nice percussion, these horns kind of lurking in the back. This is somebody who's living life in order to escape life. Like things are miserable, so let's just go over the top and indulge. There's this underground 50s rumba jazz vibe to this that works. Blow Wind Blow, slower. We got a nice slow-picked banjo, low, gruff Tom Waits sound in here. Some lonely, hurting, storytelling lyrics. Blow Me Away, Want the Wind to Blow Me Away. There's this sort of New Orleans brass lurking in the back. A lot of the brass in here I kind of like, because it's almost like mixed in towards the back, like it's just following the singer around. Like, we got commentary on everything you say, but we're going to kind of stay in the distance. It's a nice production choice. Temptation, some woozy horns. He can't resist temptation. Waits' vocals on this, he is completely feeling the temptation. The performance is fantastic. Waits' vocal performances on this are really strong, but it does feel performative in a way that it didn't quite feel performative on the previous two albums. It is a play. I mean, I don't think he starred in the play. I know nothing about the play other than this album, but there is something performative about these songs that sometimes in something like Temptation, I just feel it, but it's a good performance. You could win a Tony if it hit Broadway, but still. There's a very bouncy, hedonistic, carefree vibe about Temptation because we're given into it. Yeah, it's going to happen. So Innocent When You Dream is next, the bar room version. There will be another version of this later on. This is a very drunken bar. It's a bar vibe. Everybody's singing along. It's got this drunken, almost like it's an old folk song type thing. Everybody's singing along, hence bar room in parentheses. And these sequence of songs, the Straight to the Top, Blow and Blow, Temptation, Innocent When You Dream, they're all strong songs, and they're all very much that typical everything, including the kitchen sink type vibe with horns and wooziness and drunken performance and over the top weights. But they do feel like 4 songs drawn from a play. And it's like, oh, this vibe, and then this vibe, and then this vibe. And there doesn't seem to be a logical reason they need to follow. It works, it's not bad. I'm just trying to, because it is part of this trilogy, or this unofficial trilogy of 3 albums. I know it's the weakest, and I'm just trying to come to terms with myself of why I don't listen to this one nearly as much as the other 2. And I think that's the reason. I think there's somewhat of a lack of cohesion, and I'm attributing that to the fact that they're from a play. But then we get 2 amazing songs in the middle of the album. I'll Be Gone has that Rebo guitar on there that is just absolutely amazing. Has this upbeat accordion, sort of marching jaunt, almost a piratey vibe in here. Really fun. There is a sort of a dark twist in the I'll Be Gone. At first it's like, hey, I'm hitting the road. But then things get a little bit darker, almost has a twisted Decemberist vibe. And I love the Decemberist, so that's meant as a compliment. Then we get Yesterday Is Here, which has this long, almost Western, Dire Straits, lone type guitar opening that is amazing. The vibe really stands out, doesn't feel like anything else on this album. Just fantastic opening vibe, much, much calmer than everything else. Waits then comes sauntering in with this tail. The mood is fantastic. It's just, there is a change in the tone in here that really stands apart from everything else on this album. And it's almost like we needed one more of these maybe earlier, or maybe we needed some resequencing, but phenomenal. And it's a 1-2 punch in the middle of the album that's like, all right, I'm back in. You got me. What else do you got for the rest of the album? Please Wake Me Up has some weird synth type stuff that's could be like a Resonance type, messing around with keyboards and coming up with some weird energy. Kind of reminds me of some like Resonance action. The way Tom is singing the song, it sounds like he's just kind of walking down the street, kind of singing into himself. Like, I don't know, there's this weird, just like 40s musical singing to myself as I stroll down the street vibe with this weird Resonance music. I would assume he had heard the Resonance at this point. Why would he not have? And so it does feel like maybe a little bit of that influence has seeped in here. We get Frank's theme, which is like a less than 2 minutes of a vocal accordion type roughness, you know, kind of buried production thing. More Than Rain, accordion, woozy, ballady. This is just your classic woozy drunken jazz. Then we get another absolute amazing song, Way Down in the Hole. One of those songs that sounds like it's like a 1930s, 1920s old blues song that Tom Waits discovered. But nah, it's a Tom Waits song. It's just, there's some Jesus, some religion. When he performs this live, he got really a little too much into the televangelist thing, to the point that it almost became a caricature, and this version of it is not. I think this was used in The Wire a number of times. It's a pretty big song as far as Tom Waits go. Some great stand-up bass on here. It's fantastic. But it's kind of simple and direct, but just perfect. And then we get 2, I think, complete missteps that kind of ruin the overall vibe of the album and really plants it in like, this is a soundtrack type thing to a play. Straight to the Top, Vegas version. Waits is doing Sinatra. It undercuts the entire vibe of the album. He toured after this album. Obviously, maybe he didn't know if he was going to tour when he did it. This is one of those versions you keep off the album, but then when people come to see you live, if they only know the album, I'm assuming this might have been in the play and it's part of the play, but then you go and see them live and you're like, oh, this is Straight to the Top. He's doing a Vegas version. How cool. And it's something neat. On the album, it just feels a little too, it takes you out. And he's obviously playing this Sinatra character. The next song, I'll Take New York. The New York. He's playing a Sinatra character. This emerges out of Straight. It has a really nice, the segue between the two with this like one horn note that kind of lingers. Musically, it works really well. But the over-the-top Sinatra vibe, I'm just flat out no on it. And it really, it kind of hurts the toward the end of this album, and it's like I very rarely up to this point in the entire discography have tracks I want to skip, but I want to skip these two tracks, especially because then we get two more absolutely amazing tracks. Telephone Call from Istanbul, classic Waits, bouncy junkyard blues vibe. Lyrics are fantastic. And then we get Cold, Cold Ground, which is this softer, gentler, folkier blues. There's some harmonica in there, really nice gruff vocal. This could be a Bruce song. This could be a Dylan song. This could be a Leonard Cohen song. This is another Cold, Cold Ground. Feels like a timeless classic. Feels like something he discovered that he's revealing to the world. And it's just an absolutely amazing song. And then we get a train song. Train songs are never happy, right? If you're writing a song about a train and it's happy, you've missed the whole vibe. This one has a very end of the album type song. It is not the last song. There was one more after this, but it does have a very, things are wrapping up. We're coming to a conclusion. Drunk, down and out, woozy ballad type thing. And then we get Innocent When You Dream, which is almost has this weird Dancing Queen type piano motif that comes up, but it's a little starker than that. This has a distant, muffled, sort of raspy tom vibe. This is the 78 version of Innocent When You Dream. And that's it. There were some absolutely must-hear, fantastic, all-time classic Waits songs on here. Hang On St. Christopher, All Be Gone, Yesterday Is Here, Way Down in the Hole, Telephone Call from Istanbul, Cold, Cold Ground, I would say are easy, like just top-tier things. The rest of the stuff is not bad. It just, maybe it's the sequencing, maybe they're just like, it just feels too like, go from point A, and then we're going to jump over to this vibe and this vibe. And it feels like there's a reason other than an internal narrative of the album that's driving this. There's a play, right? It just seems like that overhangs it. Seems like if you did not know there was a play, there would still be something slightly disjointed about parts of this album. And then the Vegas stuff just, I don't think works. Live, it's probably a hoot. On the album, it's not the Tom Waits I want. Where would I rank this if I had to rank it among the others? I have it at number 7. If you notice, and part of the reason it's at number 7, if you look at what the top ones are, is it's a fall off from those other two absolutely perfect albums from this quote unquote trilogy. And the other albums, they might not have that experimental boldness. They might not have songs as classic as Cold, Cold Ground or Way Down in the Hole, but they have a consistency to them. They don't have anything that are like these Vegas detours. And I think from start to finish, there's a flow to those albums. And they do have fantastic songs also. But there's a flow to those albums and a consistency that I think just makes them work better overall. And yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know your thoughts on Frank's Wild Years. Not a bad album. Again, it's at 7. But it's not a bad 7. It's just, don't go to Vegas, people. What happens in Vegas should stay in Vegas. That's all I got. Peace. Talk to you later.